Hello to everybody at the mall. I hope you're all having wonderful days. Now, I'm coming to you from Fun Kids Entertainers to tell you all about our precious oceans and what we can do to protect them. Our oceans are so important in helping to protect our Earth, and this is why we need to work together to save them. Now, let's talk about our oceans. Did you know that the ocean covers about 70% of the Earth's surface? That's so much water! Now, as I said before, the ocean plays a large part in protecting the Earth's environment. But what does it do? And how does it protect the Earth's environment? One of its largest roles is to soak up energy, heat, and give it out more evenly across the Earth. Now, the ocean also helps absorb the Earth's CO2, the Earth's carbon dioxide. Now, carbon dioxide is a gas that contributes to air pollution, which in excess can be bad for the environment and to humans. It can be very dangerous if too much CO2 is consumed. Too much CO2 also creates a cover that traps the sun's heat's energy in a bubble called the atmospheric bubble, which warms the planets and the oceans. This plays havoc with the Earth's climate by causing changes in weather patterns that can be very unpredictable. So as humans, we are producing more and more and more and more energy and CO2, and the oceans are, as a result, working in overdrive to absorb this CO2 from the atmosphere. Here's a basic breakdown of how it does that. CO2 reacts with water to form carbonic acid. Now, this makes our oceans more acidic, and this is harmful to ocean life. This overuse of energy from humans warms the Earth, and this is also known as global warming. The Earth is getting hotter and hotter. So we've talked about how the ocean helps. Now let's dive into the oceans. How many oceans are there? In total, there are 5 oceans, and from smallest to largest, they are the Arctic, the Southern, the Indian, the Atlantic, and the Pacific. So let's go to our first ocean, the Arctic. It's cold there. Now, the Arctic is centred around the North Pole, and it is the smallest and shallowest ocean. All Arctic waters are cold and are around -2 degrees Celsius. The climate in the Arctic regions is among the harshest in the whole world. The coldest temperatures can drop to -65 degrees. Oh, especially at the end of a long, cold Arctic winter. Now, icebergs and ice packs will be found in the Arctic during any season, and the ocean surface will be covered by ice during June to October. However, due to climate change and global warming, which we touched on earlier, the ice packs now melt in spring and summer and refreeze in the colder autumn and winter. There are actually ships called icebreakers, which break the ice to help other ships on their journey through the Arctic waters. The Arctic and the Arctic Ocean is home to some rare and endangered species. Polar bears! Now, polar bears need sea ice to be able to hunt, raise their young, and as places to rest after long periods of swimming. Seals. Now, certain seal species, like ringed seals, make caves in the snow and ice to raise their pups, feed and mate. We have walruses. Beluga whales. humpback whales, and many more. Now, sadly, hunting in the Arctic has endangered some of these wonderful animals. Alongside global warming and hunting, there are other human activities which are also causing concern for the Arctic Ocean. Big oil tankers sail through the Arctic waters, and they can be damaged by the ice and release tons of oil into the ocean waters, which is very damaging for wildlife. Sea otters, for example, are at great risk from oil exposure. The chemicals in oil destroys the warming effects of sea otter fur, putting the animals at risk of hypothermia. If otters try and preen their fur, damage from ingesting the oil can harm their whole digestive tract. Now, global warming may be the most serious environmental problem for the Arctic Ocean. The slow rise in temperature is warming the Arctic and making the ice melt. The levels of oceans around the world are gradually increasing. And eventually this could mean that coastlines could completely disappear. But we can help prevent this from happening, and we will help. But first, let's learn some more about our other oceans. Next up, we have the Southern Ocean, which is also very cold. Now, the Southern Ocean is located in the Southern Hemisphere. It surrounds Antarctica, and that's why it's also known as the Antarctic Ocean. The temperature in the Southern Ocean is anywhere from -2 to 10 degrees. Ooh. Icebergs will be seen in the Southern Ocean during any season. During May to October, there are also strong winds, which make crossing the ocean even more dangerous. Big iceberg fragments, huge chunks of ice, drift into the water. They can be several 100 meters high. That is huge! The difference in temperature between the ice and the ocean often results in intense storms, making it famous for its turbulent and dangerous waters. Now, what animals do we find in the Southern Ocean? Emperor penguins! Beautiful as seen in Happy Feet. We have some wandering albatrosses. The biggest mammal in the whole world, the blue whale. And fur seals. The biggest of the seals are the elephant seals, which weigh up to 4,000 kilograms. That is a big old seal. Every spring, over 100 million birds nest on the rocky shores of Antarctica. There are also several species of invertebrates living in the Southern Ocean, but only very few species of fish. Now, the largest invertebrate found on our planet is the giant squid, which lives in the Southern Ocean. It grows up to 49 feet in length. Oh my goodness, I would not want that swimming around near me. Next ocean is the Indian Ocean. Now, the Indian Ocean is located between Africa and Australasia and the Southern Ocean. The temperature in this ocean is a lot warmer. It is between 22 and 28 degrees Celsius. Now, the Indian Ocean contains some of my favourite species. It has the dolphin. The great white shark. Doo-dum. The green sea turtle. The orca or killer whale. Now, many of the Indian Ocean sea species are sadly endangered, such as the turtles or dugongs, also called sea cows. Sea turtles, for instance, rely on nesting beaches to lay their eggs, many of which are threatened by the rising sea levels that we talked about earlier, caused by the melting of ice. Now, the temperature of the nests determine whether the eggs are male or female. Now, unfortunately, with the temperature on the rise, this could mean that many more females are born than males, threatening future turtle populations. There's another human activity which isn't so good for our oceans, and that is overfishing. Overfishing of certain species of fish and shrimp, as well as oil and gas drilling, have impacted the habitat of animals in the Indian Ocean and have had a bad effect on their food sources. Let's talk about the dugong, for instance, the sea cow. Their diet consists primarily of seagrass. Pollution has killed seagrass beds. And when seagrass supplies are short, they'll eat marine algae. Dugongs are sadly often trapped in fishing nets and pass away because of lack of oxygen. Every year, the Indian Ocean is growing wider by 20 centimetres, and that is happening as a result of the melting of the polar caps, the area around either North Pole or South Pole that is permanently covered in ice, which we just talked about. Now onto our Atlantic Ocean. Now, the Atlantic Ocean is between the continents of America and Europe and Africa. In size, the Atlantic Ocean is roughly about 6.5 times the size of America. The Atlantic produces much of the world's fish, 20,000 types of fish. You can find spotted eagle ray, seahorse, and the bluefish tuna. The Atlantic Ocean is where the Titanic famously sank. Now, like the Indian Ocean, overfishing is a serious problem. Some countries have actually set limits on how many fish can be caught in a certain area. They've also set up programs to protect the fish that are left and to rebuild the fish's populations. And lastly, we have the Pacific. The biggest ocean of them all. Now, the Pacific Ocean extends from the Arctic Ocean in the north to the Southern Ocean in the south and is bounded by the continents of Asia and Australia in the west and the Americas in the east. It is absolutely huge. It covers more than 30% of the Earth's surface, and it is usually between 11 and 20 degrees Celsius. Most of the volcanoes, actually 75%, are located in the Pacific Ocean basin. The volcanoes actually form a ring around the basin, and therefore it is called the Ring of Fire. Many earthquakes happen in this area due to volcanic activity. Also, tsunamis, which cause terrible destruction when hitting the land, happen especially in this area. Now, in the Pacific Ocean, you will find the tiger shark. Box jellyfish, hammerhead shark, and manta ray. We've learnt about all the oceans and what's inside them, And I hope that makes you think a bit more about protecting what's inside them, because we know what beautiful creatures live there. Now, we talked a bit about the ocean's role in saving the environment and helping protect it. Now, let's unpack that and really delve into what it does. So the ocean does an excellent job of absorbing excess heat from the atmosphere. Top few meters of the ocean stores as much heat as Earth's entire atmosphere. So, as the planet warms, the ocean gets most of that extra energy. But if the ocean gets too warm, then the plants and animals that live in it must adapt or they'll die. So, this climate change caused by humans using too much energy can seriously disrupt and damage the food chain. Let's talk about the food chain. Algae and plankton are at the bottom of the food chain. Plankton includes many different types of tiny animals, plants, or bacteria that just float and drift in the ocean. Now, our little friend Plankton from SpongeBob was named after Plankton, as you can see. Other tiny animals such as krill, sort of like a little shrimp, eat the plankton. Fish and even whales and seals feed on the krill. However, in some parts of the ocean, the population of krill has dropped by 80%. Why? Well, krill like to breed in really cold water, near sea ice. Now, what would happen if there was no sea ice? What would happen if there were very little plankton or krill? The whole food chain would be disrupted. Coral. Coral is another ocean creature in trouble. Coral is a very fragile animal that builds a shell around itself. It lives in harmony with a certain kind of colourful algae. The algae makes food using sunlight, a process called photosynthesis. Now they share food with the coral, and in turn, the coral gives the algae a safe and sunny place to live. The two of them get along just fine, living in clean, clear, shallow waters where the sun shines through brightly. Now fish love coral too, because there are lots of nooks and crannies for them to hide. But algae cannot carry out photosynthesis in water that is too warm. The algae either dies or the coral spits it out. The corals lose their beautifully coloured food source and become very weak. This sad event is called bleaching. This sad event is called coral bleaching, and it is happening on a grand scale in many places across the world. Now let's talk about the ice caps melting. So, as we've said many times today, the Earth is getting warmer and warmer, especially in the last 50 to 100 years. Now, this is because of human activities. We have a very, very big role to play in the Earth getting warmer. This warmth can also be called the greenhouse effect, because the energy that we use create gases that keep the Earth warm, like a greenhouse keeps plants warm. This is called the greenhouse effect. Now, human activities such as burning fuel to power factories, cars and buses are changing the natural greenhouse. These changes are causing the atmosphere to trap more and more heat than it used to, leading to a warmer Earth. It is estimated that in the last 100 years, sea levels have risen by 8 inches. This can only be due to melting ice. Now, if the ice caps melt enough to raise the sea levels by more than 6 feet, most major cities will be flooded. Countries such as the Netherlands and even the UK are low-lying, and they will be at risk of flooding. If the Earth continues to rise in temperature at its current rate, then the Arctic will have no ice by 2024. Think of all those lovely animals that we looked at earlier. They'll have no home. And if the ice in the Antarctic melted, then sea levels would rise by 200 feet. Now, I've hit you with some sad facts there, but do not worry because we can help. We can still make a change, and I'm going to tell you how. We can behave in an eco-friendly way, a way that is kind to our Earth and kind to our oceans. We have to follow the 3 R's as much as possible. Reduce, reuse, recycle. Let's start with reduce. Now, this is reducing your harmful activities as much as possible. Now, how can we do that? We can use things that hurt the Earth less and less. And what hurts the Earth? Doing things like driving a car hurts the Earth because it is burning petrol, which creates more of that CO2. Drive as little as possible. Walk. Even run or ride a bike if you're feeling super fit. You can get strong and fit and help the planet. We can use less energy. We can get in the habit of turning off electrical items that aren't being used. The light. The television. The game console. When you're not using them, turn them off. This is a very loving action to our Earth and can really help if we all club together and make an effort to do that. Turn off the tap when you're brushing your teeth to waste less water. And take shorter showers. We don't need 15-minute showers. These seemingly little things can have a big impact on our Earth and save those glaciers from melting. Reduce. Reuse. Reuse things again and again. Get in the habit. When you're heading out for the shops, use a bag that you already have instead of buying a new plastic bag, which is not very good for the environment. And also, it saves you 5p. When something is broken, see if you can mend it before throwing it away. And when you don't use something anymore, instead of throwing it in the bin, take it to a charity shop and someone else can use it. Reuse scrap bits of paper. If you filled out one side, don't throw it in the bin, use the other side. Recycle. What is recycling? It is taking old waste or materials and making them into new things. Did you know that trainers can be made from old car tyres? And all newspapers that are read today are actually recycled bits of old paper? So how can you recycle? Sort all your rubbish so that the glass, tin cans, plastic and paper can be recycled. You just have to pluck it from the bin or simply place it all in a recycling bag, ready to get sent off to make into new things. You can also recycle your food. Instead of throwing away your food, instead of throwing away those stinky Brussels sprouts that you just don't want to eat, you can put them in a food bin, which can make some really useful compost for our soil. Our soil eats it all up and it really is a big loving action to our Earth. By using your kitchen waste to make compost, you can help reduce the amount of rubbish that goes into a landfill. a big rubbish tip in the ground. Now, doing all these things can really help protect the oceans. The less plastic we use, the less plastic that will end up in the ocean, because that can be very harmful to our beautiful sea creatures that we've learned about today. And we really want to work together to save those lovely, lovely animals. And I know we can do it. So guys, I really hope this has been helpful today, and I hope you've enjoyed learning all these amazing facts. You can do these little things every single day. Encourage your family to do them too, and your friends, and you can help protect this earth, this beautiful, beautiful earth.